If you want to increase your exposure to vocabulary and to the language itself, you have to repeat. You have to practice regularly. Repetition is key. Repetition is very important. As the old saying goes, practice makes perfect. It's through practice that you'll be able to build your familiarity with the language. You don't have to always learn something new. As you learn and learn and learn, set aside some time where you just review what you've already been exposed to instead of adding something new. Finish what's on your plate first before you go for another meal. Don't be afraid to reuse your old materials. If you can go through things like your old homework, notes, books, listening exercises, etc., you'll solidify what you've already learned before. Repetition increases exposure, and exposure increases your chances for remembering. Regularity is very important. Coupled with repetition is regularity. The old saying goes, use it or lose it. If you're not finding a way to regularly use what you've been exposed to and what you've learned, then you will lose that knowledge quicker than you can imagine. The brain keeps what it needs. If you don't use your knowledge, it's like telling your brain that you don't need it. And once it gets that signal, it won't be long before it forgets what you've taught it. Look, I understand that you might be busy with work, school, family, or a combination of all of those. Especially nowadays, all of us are so busy and so occupied. But we have to regularly use what we've learned. Regularly using the language that you're learning doesn't necessarily mean spending hours upon hours per day with the language. But it also doesn't mean that once or twice a week you should binge on language learning and then do nothing for the rest of the week. Learning and practicing in small regular chunks goes much further than doing the same sporadically. It's also more enjoyable. If you know that you have 6 hours of language work to do on Saturday evening, you're going to feel deterred. However, if you decide to work on some piece of the language for 45 minutes each day, it'll be a task that's easier to complete and even more enjoyable for you. If this is something that's new for you, I'd suggest that you focus on doing what you can manage to do regularly and then build upon that. Do you have maybe 30 minutes a day every day to work on your language? If so, use work for 30 minutes each day until it becomes a habit. If you feel that you can add more time to your practice on a regular basis, then do so. But only do so when it can be sustainable practice for you. Take your time. Start with what you can manage and then build from there. Something that can help you with improving the regularity of your practice is having systems in place. And we'll talk about systems in the next section.